started Musicians in Action when I was finishing my master's. I was taking a few professional auditions and not in a good place mentally. You work so hard individually on excerpts, Strauss, Beethoven, and sometimes in all the criticism you can forget why you fell in love with the music in the first place. So I tried to create different performance opportunities that connected me with why I fell in love with music, and also creating opportunities for other people to say, this is why you should fall in love with music, bringing music to people who don't have a chance to hear it. At the Northwestern Medical School, they actually have a program called Musicians in Medicine. I thought it was pretty crazy that medical students would have a program that brings their musicians to play for the hospital, but that as music students we didn't have that opportunity. Because Roosevelt is such a school devoted to social justice, I thought it was a perfect fit for us to take on a similar program. The first hospital we ever visited with Musicians in Action is the Prentice Women's Hospital located in River North. We play for the top 3 floors of the hospital, which are devoted to treating various types of cancer for both men and women. Most of the patients there are adults, and we play for, of course, the patients, but also the visitors, any family or friends, and the staff, who really enjoy us being there too.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful program, the Musicians in Action, that we have here at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The music that the musicians play is such a variety that it just provides kind of an outlet for a number of our patients. I think that at times it's relaxing. I think at times it's very uplifting. And probably more than anything, it's restorative.
So the first time I went to Prentice, I had prepared all this music and I was ready to go for a little mini Julia recital. But I went and Allegra actually put me with another individual and we just played for a small room of maybe 1 or 2 people trickling in. But as the time wore on, nurses would come by and they would thank us for what we're doing because they were opening doors for their patients to listen to the music because the patients had heard something and wanted to be able to still listen even though they couldn't actually physically see us. So knowing that we had ears and that they were grateful was incredibly encouraging.
For the December visit to Prentice, 4 of us got together and printed out some free Christmas carols online and barely threw them together. And while we were walking through the halls, a woman came up and asked if she could record us. So we're like, yeah, of course. And right before she recorded on her iPad, she started talking about her 2 daughters and her husband who are at home in Wisconsin, and about how she couldn't be there for Christmas, for the holidays. And she would like to kind of send this to them as a memento, like thinking of you kind of thing. And performing under pressure, geez, like the 4 of us getting together and just saying, I think we sang Silent Night for her. It was one of the most powerful musical experiences from an online quartet. But it wasn't about that. It was about what we were doing for her and for her family.
I think that there are so many elements to how you care for someone. And we as physicians, we know the medical piece. Oftentimes my chemotherapy falls short, but music transcends. And it can really help someone in a moment where they're otherwise, let's say, without hope. It can strengthen them. And I've seen it over and over again with music. The musicians, they really should feel that they are a part of the care of our patients.
Because we perform at hospitals, our repertoire choices and the way we program our work is very patient-driven. You know, we're coming into essentially someone else's home, and so what we play and where we play it is very dependent on who's listening. At Prentice, if we're louder music, say a string quartet, we'll go into the common room so it doesn't bombard the staff. If we're at Rabida and there are only kids on isolation, we go room to room. If the kids can be louder, then we go to the playroom and we get a little rowdy. And it's fun, but it's all about the patients and Musicians in Action. Unlike the other places we perform, Rabida is a children's hospital. It gives us a chance to be a little goofy and play with kids. I say play in the truest sense of the word. We're not only making music, but we're having a lot of fun in the process too.
When we go, normally we play in the playroom. It's got toys and stuff, and it's like a meeting spot for the kids. But sometimes some of the kids aren't able to leave their beds, or they're in isolation or something. So in that case, we visit them and we put on the entire hospital garb, the mask and the gown, and then we visit. We go room to room and just serenade the kids. We take requests, anything that they like, and just anything that'll make their day better.
There are several instances that I think about when I think of the past performances of Musicians in Action. I think about our nonverbal kids who are not able to sing and participate like other children might. So when I watch them, I see them react with joy. They laugh and they move their bodies to the music, and that's their way of responding to the music that they hear. It's really fun to watch.
We were playing for a group of probably about 10 kids and maybe 10 family and staff combined, so we had a huge group and they were singing along to everything. And we were taking requests, so we did Old MacDonald Had a Farm and took requests for all the animals, but they just kept coming up with more and more animals. So we ended up playing Old MacDonald 10 or 12 times and just had more and more animals, but they loved it every time.
I always believe that music therapy helps because it distracts the patients from what is really going on in their world, and music anytime is soothing. So when they come in, I notice that it takes them to a different world, a world that's separate from what is going on here. So I think it helps a lot.
What surprised me about our performances at the hospital was actually that we were providing a lot of relief to the staff too. You think about it, it makes sense. They're there in very trying situations, see a lot of difficult things for very long shifts, sometimes 12 hours at a time. And when they hear music, especially see live music, it gives them a chance to kind of break that tough continuum of work. Some even dance. They smile at us, talk to us, say, yeah, I love it. And it's a lot of fun, and I feel very thankful that we can give that to them.
So for me, it's worth it to go into the hospital because it allows me to break out of the bubble of academia and put what I've been training to do to use, to an incredibly good use.
What Musicians in Action has allowed me to do is contribute to the outside world, is to start giving what I've been given away and sharing all the experience, the talent that has been poured into me with other people who need it more than I do at that moment.
One thing I've noticed is it kind of develops a skill set that I don't use a lot just as a music student, but that is really important for gigging and working as a musician, and that's just being able to think on your feet and go with what the audience is enjoying and taking requests and just figuring out what key a piece is in and playing it. I never do that.
I would say that one big difference that I've noticed between playing on a professional stage and playing at a children's hospital would be just the informality of it and the improvisatory aspect, which I think is so important. So different from playing on, a professional stage where everything is rehearsed down to the very minute detail. Here, the details are there, but that's not the point. The point is the overall experience. And I'd like to really carry that back over into my professional musicianship, the overall experience of the performance.
Something I love about the performances with Musicians in Action is it gives students the opportunity to speak about music, but not in the academic terms we've grown accustomed to in our little bubble. We have people who love music but don't know about the niche terms or the specific jargon that we've come to understand. One of my favorite quotes is from fellow cellist Pablo Casals. He says, "I'm a human being first, a musician second, and a cellist third." And I think this really speaks to what we're trying to do with the Sharing Notes program through our Musicians in Action. We're trying to get into the community, bring people together through music, and make it a better place by doing so.